Even though President Trump has said the U.S. is in charge of Venezuela, the South American country still has its own government in place. In fact, acting President Delcy Rodriguez was just sworn in today. Before Saturday, she was the country's vice president. Meanwhile, her brother Jorge is the current president of the National Assembly, Venezuela's federal legislator. He too was re-elected today and sworn in. Much of the world is still processing the impact of this historic strike on Venezuela. President of the Global Liberty Alliance, Jason Poblete, practices international and national security law. He also serves as an advisor to the International Catholic Jurist Forum. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So we've seen a lot of different reactions to the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro. What is your take?
I think we put it in context. I mean, it was a big start to 2026. And to better appreciate what has happened, I think we look back to the beginning of last year when President Trump and his national security team began a fundamental reorientation of U.S. foreign policy, especially in the Western Hemisphere. That helps us understand what happened in Venezuela recently. And remember, we started out with Greenland, the Panama Canal, putting our neighbors on notice that border security was going to be a priority, cracking down on transnational crime was going to be a priority, and moving assets into the region. They even created toward the end of the year a new unit, a new command under Southcom and Northcom. So what happens here is that we're putting America first in the hemisphere, and that's just not rhetoric. That's extremely important because the hemisphere was usually treated as a sleepy, democracy-building type, maybe laboratory, and we neglected things like border security. We neglected things like transnational crime. This should not have come as a surprise to Nicolás Maduro or anyone in Venezuela, or frankly, anyone in the region. The president and the Secretary of State have been very clear there would be consequences if they did not cooperate with the United States in securing borders, cracking down on transnational crime. There's been an indictment on the books for a while. I think we're going to see a lot more of this. This should be a message to China, a message to Russia, a message to Iran, and all of our partners and allies in the region, and even our adversaries, that it's a different mindset, and they should listen to what the United States is saying.
Now, this indictment came down from the first Trump administration. Of course, there was a bounty all through the Biden administration. That did not change. Now, he has been captured. Of course, it was a very oppressive regime. We have seen Venezuelans in the streets. They have been celebrating. Also, family and friends in the United States. I saw one parish in Florida, Our Lady of Guadalupe. People were FaceTiming with their loved ones, still trying to figure out what's happening. So kind of what is the Catholic lens we should be looking at this event through?
I think Pope Leo had a great statement yesterday. He placed it out on his social media account, I believe on X. And first of all, prayer. I mean, I'm the child of Cuban exiles. So I grew up in South Florida. I know that parish you're talking about, Our Lady of Guadalupe Parish. And it's really a hub. And there are many hubs like that in South Florida and other parts of the country that Catholics gather and they pray and they celebrate, but also look to the future with optimism. Like what's happening in Venezuela, this is just a first step. There are a lot of factors that still have not been dealt with. Some of the people who are very close to it, the regime is still intact for the most part. We've taken the head out, but there's still people within that system that claim they want to work with the United States. A lot of these families are looking at this with hope that they will be able to, some of them return to their homelands and be able to rebuild. And I think that's part of that process. And I think places like Cuban Americans are studying this very carefully. Nicaraguan Americans are studying this very carefully. But there's a lot of people who would love to go back and be reunited with family, reunited with friends, and try and rebuild. And as Catholics, I think we have a unique role in that. As peace builders, we have a unique role in that, in trying to understand in some of these processes that could happen, like truth and justice and reconciliation that could come after you've had governments like this in power for so long, that we have to look inward, we have to pray, we have to reflect. But we also have to be careful with the information that we are reading and consuming about what is happening or is not happening. I think we have to focus on official sources, focus on truth. And like the Holy Father says, look to the future with hope. Catholics look to the future with hope. And I think that's very important in a case like this. I frankly never thought I'd see something like this in my lifetime, because I have been monitoring events in Cuba, in Venezuela for a long time. So it's a good thing. It's a good opportunity to kind of reassess where we are heading as Catholics and, of course, as Americans.
Jason Poblete, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.